Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. Today's podcast, I want to begin by thanking a few great people of Abbotsford to keep our city and where it is, and massively for the fight that Abbotsford residents had to go through and stay strong. First, a mention, and I want to mention this loud and clear, the Mission RCMP. When Abbotsford residents and myself approached them, here's what they said with no hesitation. And this is I want you to understand this. I'm going to do a podcast on police tomorrow, but I want you to understand this. For one police force to say something against another police force, you got to understand that they can see right through it. The mission man said, call it out. There's too many people that witnessed it, too many dignitaries. They knew the politicians that were behind the scenes, and Henry and Abbotsford Police didn't know it. They knew that John Rustad was in the house. They knew that Gurpreet Rai of the NDP came to see Abbotsford residents. They knew that Maxime Bernier was here. They knew Pierre Poilievre. So the RCMP man knew to take the high road. It's hard to do against the police force, but when you see corruption, you got to understand it's not a police force, it's individuals going after money and doing stuff. For a police force to do what Mike Sure did and Olenoff did and Gertie Purdy did, the only reason you risk that big of a job is there has to be money involved. There has to be payout. You have to be rewarded, because 9 to 5 just doesn't get you your mortgage and you living like a king. So we owe the mission men and women a tremendous thanks, and that is why she's on world social media. Without their support and their help, I would have been targeted to be run out of town. When they reassured Abbotsford and myself, these shitboxes in the Abbotsford police were pulling politicians. We got your back, all of you. They knew there was too many eyewitnesses on the elite stuff, and when they saw Darren Braun, Henry's economic development officer, his son, they saw Mark Warkentine, they saw City Council in Henry's house, they saw the Cooper Farm, they saw Ron Funk running Ross Siemens, and they saw developers. They knew it was true about the Fisher Community Plan. My experience over the years working for Peter Wall of Wall Financial, Mike Dakota of Ani taught me so much hard work. At the end of the day, you can retire and you don't lose your shit. Hard work. That is how I can find the kickbacks, the Fisher Community Plan, and the developers Henry was lobbying. Henry wanted to be a billionaire, and he was using the city chair to do it with his friends, knowing the city council was a majority, and they were well seasoned, these old geezers, in listening and controlling. Give them a little bit to follow, blackjack them like you did Ross, and you have it all like Patricia Dreesen. I made it clear that Abbotsford needs a police force. The Abbotsford APD veterans and men and women have to go. Whether it's they're out, they can never be, I will lobby that they're never transferred, because they failed and they knew what they were doing, not creating paperwork for the court. A favor for a favor. Henry's a very small fish to big players. If they did it for Henry, they did it for the elites here in Abbotsford, probably in the criminal ring. We don't need to hear, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it was him, it wasn't me, it was Mike Shear, I kicked right at Mike Shear, it was Olenoff, it was Gertie. You all have an office and a duty to do, and you failed it, especially the Safety Standards Act of Abbotsford when they failed. When Darren Brown opened the door, I went in, as you might say, as an undercover agent for Abbotsford, showing the way that I stood alone. Nobody stood beside me and nothing. The only ones that knew it was the Mission RCMP. Allowing the attack to take place so it could be shown to the world, to Abbotsford residents, and how Henry set up through the newspaper and the Abbotsford police were exactly what I showed you. I stood alone to brutalize the attacks on my life, the threats through the election, the loading and everything. With great men that also leaned behind me. I told you, George Ferguson's spirit pushing me. Go, Mr. Pelican, go. Bill Vanderzam and everybody. To set my city a voice again, and no more Cooper's Farm, and go after the elites that were running our police force. That's why I'm adamant. We cannot have private police, provincial or the RCMP. The money's kicked from the feds in the provincial to these local mayors that are blood-sucking and not tendering jobs and stealing. When I showed you Valley Road here, that Henry told his friends to buy it, I'm gonna just fix this here. He told his friends to buy it for developing. Let me tell you what Darren Brown showed me. Development Economic Officer, worth millions of dollars, 17 acres. Pamela Alexis was the Minister of Ag for David Eby. On Riverside for Orion Construction, they did a proposal from A2 to I2. Proposal means it's got to go for hearings, it's got to go for readings and everything. But under that proposal, when Henry moved the TransLink workyard, he rushed it to free that job for them tilt-ups, bypassing all the schedules and everything else. Down here on Valley Road is one of Henry's friends what was going to drain that swamp. This isn't an ecosystem. Birds, the crane, frogs and everything. I want you to look. See the big swamp here? It's a big swamp. We're going to drain the swamp. When Henry knew that Darren told, and I ran videos here, Henry threatened my life. Henry knew he needed to load Ross for the Fisher Community Plan that's bigger than these police force saying, well, you know, we set up across Canada and we just broke a fentanyl ring. Really? Really? Maybe if you do some real criminal stuff, you set up in Abbotsford and you can break one of the largest criminal rings set up since Al Capone. Henry Brown and the Fisher Community Plan, a politician ring. Abbotsford residents got too used to laid back and great men like Henry. I'm a church-going guy. Trust me, because God's watching, I'll never steal. Them are the worst. Them are the worst. We know they're the worst. They're the worst, like Patricia Dreesen. When I flash this, it can't be developed now. So this is what they do quickly. The other night, they walked in here, late at night, 11:42 at night. The tip waders on, a couple of sledgehammers and the shovel. 17 acres for sale. Now you can buy it. They're trying to unload the property to somebody and scam that somebody, not saying that, hey, listen, Abbotsford residents and Mr. Pelican put up what my son told. It can't be developed. And now it's screwed because we don't got an ag minister anymore that can do this shit, and we can't pull this swamp out and drain it. And this is what they were doing here in Abbotsford. But this led to threats, a criminal ring through a police department, police telling, like Councillor Mogale said, where there was smoke, there was fire. Mogale knew that he needed to start stepping aside because Henry, he saw through Henry when Henry pushed Nival, when Henry was bullying, when Nival flashed his land deals and everything else. I wonder how much Councillor Mogale knew that Darren Brown had run his mouth off, or he got the same information from Darren as I did. Mogale was in closed meetings and under that private councillor's mayor, the secret code they have, a non-disclosure. Mo couldn't talk about it. So that's why he said where there was smoke, there was fire, Darren said, because he was hoping Henry's a billionaire and here's Mo, not worth too much, maybe a couple of million, and Henry didn't sue him because Mo would then have to, by court, under oath, not worry about that non-disclosure and testify, and Henry didn't want to take the chance. And he said, Darren said, oh shit, my dad was mad. And then Henry had to up it when Mo ran. He had to use the task force on tax dollars to beat Mogale up. Then, I encourage my filthy police chief, Colin Watts, that's hiding, that can't come out and talk to residents or do criminal reports, figured out I need to save my company. Oh, my investigators are their magic. Oh, they're magic, really. The Mission RCMP said, call that bullshit out right now. There's too many of you. Call it out on Keelan Olenoff. Call it out on Henry. Call it out and make no mistake what the Abbotsford shit squad's doing. I don't think there's back doors for these police departments to pity on police departments, because that's what these men do. Hey, Surrey, you want to come in here, Surrey? Get I hit. You want to work with us? We're all police forces. At the end of the day, we all live on this planet. We're all supposed to work together and hold each other accountable and make sure this shit doesn't happen on residents. And greed is always the problem. Greed is always the problem. But if we don't go after this and get criminal convictions on these leaders, like massive criminal convictions, and lose their assets, this stuff's going to take place when the next guy figures I can do what Henry Brown did. I believe this is one of the largest rings ever set up. Abbotsford owes a lot of politicians, retired politicians, that came in as eyewitnesses to help on the Abbotsford police. So I want to tell you, if you're looking at purchasing 17 acres and buying a swamp, you're going to get Swindlehursted here, and you'll never get it developed. I'm live, Valley Road, Abbotsford, British Columbia.